Decent amount of torque here with the Z71. Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video, we're gonna be going over a 2021 Chevy Suburban Z71. I'm super excited to review this Suburban today, but first and foremost, a huge shout out and thank you to the Larry Miller Chevy here in Murray for giving me some time with the Suburban. Check out the inventory link below. Let's get straight into the video. Under the hood of the Z71 Suburban, we have a naturally aspirated 5.3 liter V8 that goes through a 10-speed automatic transmission. Fuel economy is 15 around town and then 19 on the highway, with power outputs being 355 horsepower and then 383 pound-feet of torque. Now let's go over the front end of the Z71 Suburban. So first off, the hood has been unchanged compared to any other Suburban. That's all the same. And then you still get the full LED lights with the LED accent light, but notice that the whole grille has been blacked out. The Chevy bow tie is blacked out. You get the Z71 badge right there. And then notice that this little part of the bumper is blacked out. You actually get a skid plate, which looks really cool with the red tow hooks, parking sensors all along the front. So basically, it's a trail boss from the front end perspective, and like, let me tell you, this is the best looking front end you can get on a Suburban. Coming around the side here, we've got two 75mm tires wrapped around 20-inch wheels in the front and over in the rear. Now this does come with magnetic ride control and then adaptive air suspension as well. Pretty cool off-roading tech. But let's actually look at the wheels themselves. So you can see that you've got like the silver inserts, and then it's kind of like a darker metallic gray for the rest of the wheel. And then you do get tires that are a little bit more aggressive here with this Suburban, and then blacked out Suburban logo. You got the Z71 badge there on the side, and then notice that they've got gloss black on the bottom, and then they've got body painted on the top portion. Off-road side steps, and then here's a full side view. And one comment I do want to make, these wheels do look really good with the proportions of the vehicle, but I would rather have 17 or 18-inch wheels and a little bit more tire if I was actually going to take this off-roading. Let's pop into the back of the Suburban. So you can see that this is the reason why you get the Suburban, is tons of storage space here in the rear. So you got this little area where you have some extra storage space, but with all the seats up, you still have a good amount of cargo space. And by the way, payload capacity in the Suburban is about 1,600 pounds. And then you actually can raise and lower the seats with these little buttons right here. So you press that and it'll lower down the seat, and then if you want it back up, then you can press that. And then this is just over here for the second row, and then you do get a full power outlet. And by the way, I guess that you have to hold this, because if you let go, then it just like stops right there in the middle portion. But anyways, that is the back of the Suburban. Let's go over the rest of the rear of the Suburban. So you can see you've got these pillars that are all blacked out, which looks really good. Got the Chevy bow tie with the blacked out Suburban logo. And then we've got the LED lights back here, which I think look just fantastic. I love the design on them. And then we've got parking sensors here all along the rear. And then that bezel covers the receiver hitch. Towing capacity on the Z71 is about 7,400 pounds. But other than that, there's your back end. Let's go over the door panel here in the back of the Z71 Suburban. So first off, really nice soft touch leather on the door panel itself where you can rest your arm. Cool wood trim. And then you've got the door lock and unlock here, even in the rear, your little window control. Speaker for the Bose sound system. And then you got your little Chevrolet plaque right there. Now here are the seats in the rear. So again, nice leather here with the stitching all throughout. The seats are pretty soft to the touch. And then you do have your adjustments there on the seats. They're all nicely labeled for you. But let's actually pop in. So the side steps do help out with getting into the Suburban. I'm 5'11". If I sit all the way up, I almost touch the top, but I've got a few inches of room, so you could be over 6 foot and fit in here. And then here's what my legroom looks like. You do get a couple cup holders. You can control the climate system here for the rear, and then you got your heated seats. You got some USBs and then a full power outlet just down below. And then the rear passengers do get these nice armrests. But let's actually pop in the back, and this isn't going to be bad whatsoever because it's a Suburban. So getting in the back here, if I sit all the way up, I actually feel like I might have more headroom back here than I did there. That's interesting. Legroom is a little bit less. Do get a cup holder back here. You do get a little USB there on the side, and then you have this little button here for the second row right here if you need that to help get out. But with the captain chairs, it's pretty easy to get out. But other than that, that's the third row. Let's head to the front. Let's actually go over the door panel here in the front of the Suburban. So again, we've got all this soft touch here all along the door panel, and then the nice wood trim, and then more stitching and soft touch here at the top. You've got your little door handle, which I think looks pretty neat. And then you got your door lock and unlock. You got the memory seat controls, all of your window controls, your mirror adjustments. The mirrors do power fold in. And then the speaker there for the Bose sound system again. And then here are the seats at the front. Same as the seats in the rear. They've got these nice bolsters though here for the front seats. They are fully power adjustable. There's what the pedals look like at the bottom. And then over here we've got our drive line select and then our drive mode select, and then you have the little thing there for the suspension to raise and lower the Suburban. And then over here we've got our little light controls, and then we've got a bunch of controls here for like the safety tech, so like your lane departure assistance, your parking sensors, stability control, your hill descent control, your auto stop start, and then that's for the power outlets, and then your parking brake. The steering wheel is automatically adjustable, and there's one more look before we pop in. Now here's the steering wheel in the Z71 Suburban. So you've got full soft touch leather all around the steering wheel with the darker stitching, and then you've got your voice command, phone controls, all the controls for the center stack. Radio controls are on the back. Blacked out Chevy bow tie there in the center. And then you've got our heated steering wheel button right here. This is our collision assistance. Then our cruise control is just right over here. You do have the little stalk right there for the windshield wipers and the turn signal on that side, and that's all for the steering wheel. Here's the gauge cluster in the Z71 Suburban. So first off, you got analog gauges on either side, and then you do have that screen there in the center. It's pretty large. Shows you different bits of information on the Suburban. Pretty straightforward. You can look at your music, phone controls, all that kind of stuff. But the coolest part is with the air suspension and then with the drive modes. So first off, if I just twist that dial that I showed you guys earlier, that goes through the different drive modes. What's cool is you can see some of the gauges right there. When I went into the tow mode, it shows different bits of information back in the normal. And then you got the sport, which doesn't change anything, in the off-road. When you go into that, doesn't change anything. It's just the tow mode will change that one gauge right there. But the cool part is if you press the air suspension button, then you can see that you can go through the different air suspension modes. Now, if you want to go into the highest setting, you do have to have this in four-wheel drive low. So I have it in the highest setting without having it in four-wheel drive low. I'll quickly pop outside and show you guys what that looks like, and then I'll put it over to the lowest setting and then show you guys what that looks like. So here's what it looks like in the second highest setting that you do not have to be in four-wheel drive low for. So you guys can kind of see the gap there between the tire and the wheel, and you guys saw the stance here with the Suburban. So again, this is the second highest setting. Now here is the lowest setting. This is the entry exit mode setting. So you guys can again see that the gap is decreased a massive amount. And when you're in this mode, you really don't have to use the side steps whatsoever to get in and out. Whereas when you're in the higher setting, then you kind of do, but there's what it looks like. Now here's the infotainment system set up here in the Suburban. First off, pop it into reverse, and so you've got the backup camera with the bird's eye view. The trajectory lines do turn with the steering wheel. As for the rest of the camera system, you have a bunch of different viewpoints you can see out of the Suburban. So like parking this should never be an issue. You can zoom in on the receiver hitch if you are towing with a trailer. But yeah, I mean, this shows you like literally every single viewpoint you could ever imagine. So again, parking this should never be an issue. It should just be super easy. Now, as for the rest of the infotainment system, response time on it's really solid. You do have Android Auto and Apple CarPlay that come with this. And other than that, there's not much else to say about it. Like I already said, the camera system on it's great. You can control all the climate controls here from the front, so you can control the front and the rear. So you've got dual zone at the front, and then you just have a single zone there in the rear. But yeah, other than that, it's just a good looking infotainment system. I feel like it's like nicely integrated here into the dash, and that's all I have to say on that. So we've got our transmission selector right here. You push in for park, you pull up for reverse, push in for neutral, pull up for drive, and then you have your low range as well. A couple of vents right here with this kind of like soft touch and stitching, and then we've got this random little storage space. It goes in, like, look at that. It goes in really deep, but like I'm not exactly sure what it's for. Anyways, you got your little hazard light right next to that, and then you've got the nice metallic trim just down below. We've got all of our controls for the radio, volume controls, all that. Climate controls just down below, and then you've got your heated seat controls here with the Z71, and then your little 12 volt right there with the USB, and then wireless phone charger, and then more of that nice stitching right here. Now, just in front of this whole area, you've got a couple cup holders. You've got the center console, which is the same as you get in the truck, so like the 1500 series, for example. Still a soft touch on top of it. And then more soft touch here on the dash, and then you guys can see you've got a glove box. Maybe like since the trucks come with a glove box here, and maybe they can't fit it here in the Suburban, so then they just, that's what this is. It's like the mini glove box. I don't know. Wood trim up there, and then more soft touch here all along the dash. Here at the very top, we've got our universal garage door openers, and then we have a full panoramic sunroof here in the Suburban as well. And then you got the controls to lower the seats. This is for the hatch, and then your sunroof controls are just up above that, and then it is a darker colored headliner. Now that we're done going over the interior here on this Suburban Z71, let's quickly get into the pricing. So in terms of pricing, this Suburban Z71 stickers for about $70,000 before any type of market adjustment, which is about $10,000 more than like a fully loaded Chevy 1500 Trail Boss. So just kind of take that into consideration. That all being said, let's take this out and see how it drives. Let's talk about visibility before we set off here in the Z71 Suburban. So first off, visibility over the hood is pretty decent. If you're used to driving a truck, then this will be no problem. If you're used to driving a smaller SUV, then it would take you a second to get used to. And then there's your visibility through both the mirrors. They're actually really big. And then here's visibility all throughout the rest of the rear, which it has a bunch of really large windows. However, the seats do get in the way just slightly. And this one sadly does not have the camera mirror system. So you don't get that benefit with this particular one. But that all being said, let's set off. We are initially setting off here in the Z71 Suburban, and let's quickly talk about the road noise and the ride quality. So first off, from a ride quality perspective, it is so smooth. And I think that magnetic ride suspension, I think that's a huge reason why this ride's so smooth. Chevy's system is just really good. And so it just, any vehicle they have that has that just drives like a luxury vehicle. Anything from, you know, like a C8 Corvette to this Suburban. And then from a noise perspective, you do hear a little bit of noise from the tires, but I mean, for having off-road tires, it's not bad at all. It's about average. But yeah, so far initially, like, this is crazy how nice this is. Like, it's so smooth and it goes with it, and you can tell that everything's kind of, I don't know, it just feels like really well put together is the best way for me to put it. But let's actually get a turn here and see how this goes. Steering's really light. You can definitely feel that it's a larger size SUV, but again, if you're used to driving a truck, then this really isn't going to feel difficult at all. It's not going to feel crazy. It's just going to feel normal. Yeah, even going over these little manhole covers. Let's go over another couple. Yeah, this is so smooth. Like, definitely, like, it feels like a luxury car from a ride quality perspective. We're going to be getting our acceleration here in the Z71 Suburban. Decent amount of torque here with the Z71 for sure, but let's actually pop it over into the sport mode and see if that makes it perform any different. Looks like it just went down a gear for the sport mode. I am going to slow down just a little bit, and then we'll see how this goes in the sport mode. Yeah, it definitely feels like it holds that gear a little bit longer in the sport mode. I'm not noticing a difference in the pedal modulation or the pedal response, but it just goes into a lower gear for you and it holds the gear a little bit longer, so you can bring out the engine just a little bit more there in the sport mode. The one thing I will say about the 5.3, I think it's a great engine. Chevy's had it out for a really long time, and so it's proven. But the 6.2 is also a proven engine, and the power is just so much better. Now, I'm not exactly sure, I should have looked this up before I reviewed it. I'm not exactly sure if you can get the 6.2 with the Z71 package. I've never seen one, but if that is an option, I would recommend it. That 6.2 with this would just be completely monstrous, just like the Trail Boss with the 6.2. And that'll actually get me some things up here with this Z71 Suburban. So, from an exterior appearance perspective, I think this looks just, I think, any other word but sexy. Like, this is just a sexy looking vehicle. I understand that the Suburban proportions aren't the best. Like, this in a Tahoe looks even better. But yeah, just like all the off-roader look, just, it looks so good. And then from an interior perspective, I definitely think that it's just a really good looking interior. And again, this is like an off-road vehicle, and all the materials here are really easy to clean off. And so you might not necessarily have like the nicest, softest touch leather, but it's going to hold up a lot better when you take this off-roading and when you get mud and dirt on it. And then from a driving perspective, ride quality is great, acceleration's great, everything's good from that perspective. The only thing is, it would be really cool if this, again, came with the 6.2 V8. That would just be monstrous. And let me know in the comment section below if you can get this with the 6.2 V8. Like I said, I forgot to look that up before I filmed this. Worst car reviewer on YouTube, I guess. not even knowing what's happening. But really solid vehicle. And I guess like this really is like the third row version of the Trail Boss. My only gripe with the Suburban and the Tahoe is they're just expensive. Like you can get a fully loaded Trail Boss with a 6.2 V8 for about 60 grand, and this is $70,000. I get it. You have the added utility of the third row. You've got like a fully covered SUV, new body style, all that. I get it. But at the same time, $70,000 where you can get a truck that has pretty similar capability to this, and it's a truck, you just don't get the third row. So if you don't need the third row, I would get the Trail Boss. If you need the third row, this is like the coolest third row off-roader SUV right now. Like this thing's awesome. Now that is going to sum things up for our video on this 2021 Chevy Suburban Z71. And again, a huge shout out and thank you to the Larry H. Miller Chevy here in Murray for giving me some time with this Suburban. Check out the inventory in the link below. I'll see all of you in the next video.